And not yet. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session with Kate McKee, who is here today to tell us about her experience as a student and also as a teacher. My name is Roxane Petit-Rasselle. I'm an associate professor and the coordinator of the program of French at Westchester University. It is my pleasure to welcome today Kate McKee. Kate was a student in our master's program in French. She graduated in 2021, and she's here today to share with us her experience at Westchester University, but also her professional experience. So, Kate, welcome. Um,
Thank you.
So, Kate, could you tell us in a few words what was your undergraduate major and how did you choose it? Can you tell us a bit about your personal itinerary?
Sure. So I did my bachelor's degree at Immaculata University in Malvern. And, deciding on French as a major was a little bit of a fluke. All throughout high school, I was very interested in science, did, AP sciences. I really loved it. And I was dead set on becoming a nurse. And then it came time to start filling out college applications. And I said to myself, I really like science, but I love French. And so I said to myself, well, I could give French a try. And then if I don't like it or if it's not working out, I'll switch my major to uh, nursing and then go from there. So I started out at Immaculata University in the French program. I was totally in love with the program. I had so much time, such a wonderful time. And so from there I just found that it was the right fit for me. And I haven't stopped trying to learn ever since.
Okay, wonderful. So I take it that you're no longer considering doing a degree in nursing.
No, I'm pretty set where I'm at.
Yes. All right. So, did you think that you'd be where you are today when you were a graduate student at Westchester University?
When I started my master's degree program, excuse me, getting over a cold, um, at Westchester, I was already teaching.
Mhm.
Part of the Pennsylvania requirements to get your instructional two certificate, also known as your permanent certificate, to continue teaching, is doing an additional 24 credits. So most teachers will just do another master's degree because if you're going to do 24, you might as well do 30 or 33 and go for the master's degree. So I was already teaching and already working in a school. So I pretty much saw myself there. I wanted to continue and, take the next steps to really solidify, um, my teaching and get my instructional two certificate. So I did see this at that point going in this direction.
Okay. So, and how did you choose Westchester University? There are a few graduate programs in the area. So, what made you prefer to come to Westchester?
Well, at the time, I was teaching in Berwyn and I was living in the borough of Westchester.
Okay.
So, I could have gone to Villanova, I could have gone to other schools, more in the city, but in terms of the convenience, having it be right around the corner for me was really what was my deciding factor for that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So that was really originally a practical matter, correct?
Yeah, I looked at a lot of different programs and when, I was looking at logistically getting from school at the end of the day to class at around 4:30, I thought I got to simplify my life as much as possible to really make the most of my time, particularly those semesters where I was taking two classes at a time, and doubling up that load. I was like, I do not want to have to add an additional, commute into the city or a commute to Villanova from where I was at. So it really was a logistical decision at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, what parts of your Westchester University education and experience do you find yourself coming back to most frequently, either professionally or personally?
Well, something that really was an essential part of my experience at Westchester was just kind of rediscovering my own interest and joy in studying French. Sometimes when you get into teaching, you get sort of absorbed into the material that you yourself are teaching, and it's easy to sort of lose your own interest in that, and to lose the fun that you yourself experience in reading a new book that you hadn't read before, discovering a new author or a new artist. It's easy to get caught up in the actual work of it and to sort of put your own interest aside. So one of the best things about the program was being able to sort of explore those different areas and work on relating it to what I was teaching in the classroom as well.
Yeah.
That was a big thing that I still keep with me. I try and remind myself that I need to continue to enrich my own life with French and to not forget the actual interest and joy that I find in this, because when I'm connected to that, it's easier to share that sort of thing in the classroom and bring that energy into the classroom with me.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah.
Keep going.
And then I also want to say too that the things that we talked about in that introduction to linguistics class, where we talk about second language acquisition and the different stages, and language itself and what it is and how it's a very like living thing that's constantly changing and evolving. There's no static, version of French. Like it's constantly changing. It's different everywhere that you go. Any French speaking place, the expressions are different and the culture is different and the vocabulary is different. And that's what's something that makes language learning such a rich discipline. There's just so much to learn and to explore. And all of those things are, you know, really wonderful and really valid. There's no correct version of French. The French that's spoken in Quebec is no less French than the French that's spoken in France. The French that's spoken, in Guyane Française is no less French than, the French that's spoken anywhere else. And, accents, regional dialects, all of that, it just enriches the language and, really sort of makes the study of language even more, interesting. And there's always something new to discover. You're never done. You're never done learning, which is one of the things that I enjoy the most about it. And that's something that I take with me into the classroom, but also I just keep that with me all the time.
Absolutely. And I have to agree that it's fascinating to see the diversity of the French language in the world. The same can be said, of course, about English. The way that English is spoken in Ireland is not the same as it is in Australia or in India. And French is just the same. And wherever it is spoken, whether it is in Senegal or in France or Canada or Haiti, or the French Guyane, as you were saying, it is every time legitimate. And it's always a joy to see what people around the world do with the language, how creative they become. And of course, this is a source of endless learning for us, but it's at the same time a source of excitement. Yeah. So all right. So can I ask you the next question?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So it's always good to discuss the struggles along the way to your success. So could you tell us about your job hunts, getting stuck in careers, having self-doubts, etc. It's always reassuring for students to hear that our successful grads underwent trials along the way. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. In terms of actually, getting jobs out there in teaching, I was pretty fortunate in that the timing was right for me when I graduated with my bachelor's degree and my teaching certificate, that there were jobs out there, there were contract positions out there. Um, but a lot of teachers, a lot of newer teachers have the experience of only being able to find long-term sub positions. And if you can end up finding a long-term sub position that's for an entire school year, that's wonderful. But it can be difficult when you find yourself in one long-term sub for part of the year or half the year, and then, trying to sort of piece that together and find another long-term sub to complete your school year and, obviously to continue earning money. So those struggles are definitely part of the biggest struggles of being a new teacher is, the job hunt can lead you through a lot of long-term substitutions. And, a lot of times you have to do that for a number of years before contract positions open up. Um, so, that can be really difficult and discouraging, particularly if you're looking to start, saving for retirement and trying to get all of those things in order, it's a lot more difficult if you're also, having to plan, okay, I'm going to be at this school for this many months, and then I need to find something else. So the instability of that can be difficult as a beginning teacher. Um, in terms of self-doubt, uh, we all experience that sort of imposter syndrome when we walk into a new situation. And, teaching is the same. Uh, there's really no amount of schooling that can prepare you for exactly what you're going to see in the classroom every day. No 2 days are the same. Every single day you walk in and it's a different situation, because you're dealing with people, and people are constantly changing and growing. I teach in a middle school, which is one of the biggest growth periods in the lives of children, not only physically, but socially, emotionally as well. So they're going through a lot. And so sometimes, you'll see a student, in a great mood. Sometimes you'll see a student in a terrible mood. So you really don't know what you're going to face every single day in the classroom. But that's also kind of part of the fun of teaching is that it's always a new puzzle to solve. There are always things that need to get done, and you've got your curriculum, and you're like, okay, how do we make this work? We've got this kind of vibe in the classroom today. How do I get this material across to the students when they're in this kind of mood or when they're in that kind of mood? What activities are going to keep them engaged, but also make sure that we get the point across? So it's sort of fun in that way in teaching, but you definitely experience a lot of self-doubt. As a newer teacher, you have a lot of different influences from, more experienced teachers who you're probably working with. Social media is a big influence anymore. There's a big, teacher community in social media now with all of the TikToks and whatnot. And sometimes you see things that make you think, oh wow, like I need to be doing that. Like, what am I doing in my classroom? This person's doing that. But then, you got to take that step back and say, well, this is a TikTok. This is a curated piece of media that's been put onto somebody's channel, and that's probably not their day to day. Like their day to day is probably just as up and down as any other regular teacher who's not on TikTok. Um,
But
yeah,
it makes teaching fun because you always need to renew yourself and you renew your material, right?
yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I enjoy it is that you're constantly engaged in problem solving, real time problem solving,
And yes, and you were talking about the changing public, and it is true that the public, the students that we have today are not the same students as we had 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So the students are always changing, and so are their learning styles, which means that you always have to adapt your teaching style. And this is uh, so basically, while you are always, while you are working on adapting your teaching style, you're also learning to teach over and over again to always change your approach um, to transmitting the material.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always adding different tools to your teacher toolbox every day. You see different activities that other teachers have done, and you thought, oh, maybe that wouldn't work exactly like that, but I could change that, and that would work for my kids.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of that going on. And it's true, like we're not teaching the same kids we were 5, 10 years ago, but that's been true since the dawn of time. You
Oh,
know, it's kids are always changing and culture's always changing, and you have to teach the kids who are in front of you. You can't really make sort of lofty goals from the outside and say, well, this year's going to go exactly like this,
mhm.
because you can't do that until you get in there and you get to actually know your kids, and you see what their strengths and weaknesses are, and how you can work with that. So you have to teach who's in front of you and make it work for them as best as you can.
Hmm. And so, if I may go back to what you were saying about jobs, the job situation, I have noticed in the past 2 years that I have received a lot more emails from school districts looking desperately for French teachers, which is not something that I never received any email like this before. And in the past couple of years, I've received more and more emails asking me, hey, do you have like a graduating student? Do you have so from like the MA program or a undergraduate students who's about to graduate? Do you know anyone? Can you recommend anyone to us? So would you agree that there are a lot more jobs in French out there?
It's been my experience in recent years that, yeah, there are a lot more openings for French and French Spanish, French and English language development certificates. There are definitely a lot more openings out there right now. Usually that just comes down to the amount of people who are retiring in any given period. But yeah, there are a lot of openings, and a lot of school districts are having trouble finding people because there are not that many people who are certified, to do that, or who are not necessarily interested in changing districts, what have you. But yeah, there are a lot of openings that need to be filled.
Yes. And let's hope that they are filled because there are 29 French-speaking countries out there and
Yes.
in the world. And French is the fastest growing language on the planet. And we also have a very, very large French-speaking community in the Philadelphia area with a lot of companies. I don't know if you know about this,
Yeah.
but there are close to 1,000 French companies in our area. That's a lot.
Yeah. I can
Yes.
think of like Certainty, right? Saint-Gobain,
Yes. Oh,
right?
Saint-Gobain. We also have a lot of companies that do pesticides as well.
Oh,
We
okay.
have we have law firms. If you go through the French Chamber of Commerce of Philadelphia, you meet all these people from all over the area. And you realize that the French are just about everywhere. And then it's not just the French. There is also an extremely strong Western African community
Hmm.
uh, in the western side of Philadelphia, and they
Yeah.
have they have businesses, and it's a very large amount of the population. So we need French teachers desperately. Yeah, so let's hope that more schools, have more job openings, because we need the French teachers. So let me ask you a question. How did you end up, actually, no, you've already said this. So let me ask you to describe your time at Westchester University. What would you recommend listeners to do the most of their MA, actually, I should say graduate careers and beyond?
Well, I really enjoyed my time in the program at Westchester. I took classes with you. I took classes with Dr. Sands. I took classes with Dr. Bartles and two teachers who are no longer there. I think they've retired now, Dr. Sage and Dr. Muscatelli. And I really enjoyed every minute of my classes in French. You know, it was a wonderful experience in the program. Um, I would definitely say if you're teaching full time or working full time and trying to get your master's degree at the same time, try not to double up on courses if you can. It's a very difficult way to put yourself through that. Um, but I really enjoyed the program and my experience with my classmates. It was wonderful to have people from kind of all walks of life. So there were teachers who were there to get their master's degrees as well. There were senior citizens who had come back just because they felt like getting a master's degree in French or taking classes in French, who were also in there. So it was really a wonderful group of people to get to know and have people different perspectives coming together to sort of discuss French literature or culture or Francophone literature and culture. Yeah, it was great. I had a wonderful experience.
And okay, well, I'm very glad to know that. And you won't be okay that last night we had a graduate course, and I told our students about, our meeting tonight. And one of them was already here in 2021 and said, "Oh, this is Kate. How is she?" So about you last night. So see, there are still some of your friends are still here in the graduate
Yeah.
taking their time, one course by semester, and not doubling up on on courses as you recommended earlier. Um, all right. So, could you, since you were speaking about your experience here, you mentioned your courses with Professor Sage and Muscatelli and myself, Professor Sanchez, Professor Bartles. Um, could you tell us if you did some internships, if you had specific projects, or just if you have like really good memories?
I have to say, I think my favorite memories from the program are actually from the food culture class that I took with you.
Okay.
Just because it sort of looked at, French food and food culture from so many different angles. There was a historical approach to it where we started, way back au Moyen Âge and then, like went all the way through up into, modern day, not just looking at the different ingredients and availability, but looking at the different customs and how a lot of the customs, that date back centuries are still practiced if, perhaps in a, different form today, uh, around French tables today. And that was really cool. So to look at that, to look at, just different cultural practices like that from so many different lenses, I think that was one of my favorite courses for that reason.
Oh, excellent. You're giving me an idea. Maybe I'll teach it again.
You should. It was a great time. It was a
Oh,
great
thank you.
class.
Thank you very much. So let me ask you a question about your career trajectory, your current position, your past positions, what you love, what you have learned.
Sure. So, I'm currently teaching middle school French, grades 5, 6, 7, 8. And I really enjoy it, honestly. I taught high school for a number of years, and I enjoyed that as well. But I really do think that there's something special about the middle grades kids. Middle school teaching is perhaps not for everybody. But the kids are really awesome. They're sort of in this interesting developmental place where they're still so fascinated and genuinely interested in learning just for the sake of learning, that it really kind of energizes you as a teacher. And everything is like still so cool and new to them, which, is really wonderful to see. And it really does sort of bring a lightness to class and a really nice energy and vibe to class. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Every day is a challenge, in a good way. Different puzzles to solve, different, you know, issues to tackle. But that's one of the things that I enjoy most about my job is that no 2 days are the same. I don't think that I could do a desk job where I did the exact same thing every single day. I just don't think that I could handle, a job like that. It would really not be the best place for me. But I really do enjoy the work that I do now. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say a person who does a desk job would probably not want to have your job. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is, we need like everyone has different tastes and different.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
À
that's
chacun
good.
le sien.
Exactement. Um, Kate, do you still study French?
I do. I do. I am just personally a French nerd.
Mhm.
So, I'm constantly just studying on my own and, reading different things. But I am actually currently working on getting my doctorate through Middlebury College up in Vermont. Yeah.
And did you want to share with us which year you're in your doctoral program?
Sure. So I am coming up on my fourth year in the doctoral program. The way that the program works is that you typically do 4 summers of coursework, and then after that, you're working on comprehensive exams as well as your thesis. So I'm about to finish up my coursework and enter into comp exams and thesis territory.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
But I have to say, Kate, that we are incredibly proud of you because
Oh,
Middlebury College is known in the entire world for being like the very best language school, like to have the very best doctoral program. So we are so proud of you. And, especially you are one of, you are a graduate from our program. So it means a lot, to us that, that you were just recognized there, that you were accepted there, of course, that you were recognized, as an excellent student, and that you are earning like the best degree that you can possibly get.
thank you. That's so kind of you to say. I really wouldn't have even known about the program had it not been for yourself and the other professors there, who encouraged me to go and apply and give it a shot and see where it led. And, here I am, still enjoying it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Um, can I ask you a another question then?
sure.
Yes? Okay. So, did you want to add, do you have any more advice to current students, or did you want me to move on to the next question?
Advice for current master's students in
Yes.
general, or those who are looking to become teachers?
Just master students in general.
Um, it's hard to say. I
Mhm.
guess just really try and enjoy, the time that you have in class and enjoy engaging with the material. Whatever you're reading, try and, find your own kind of way of interpreting it and your own like thoughts and ideas. Sometimes, especially if you're working full time, when you've got a novel to read and you're just trying to really push through it to get it done so that it can be prepared for class, you can sort of forget to enjoy the actual experience of reading and engaging with the work of different authors. So I guess I would say try and appreciate those moments while you have them, and really trying to get the most out of that program. The more that you invest in the work that you're doing, the more you're going to get out of the program, as with anything in life. The more you put your energy and your mind into it, the more benefit you're going to reap in the end.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you for that. Um, can you tell us some this is my last question for you, some fun, personal things about you, some things that you would like the world to know about you
Oh
besides
boy.
being.
Well,
So
it's
tell us.
excuse me, it's nothing the world doesn't already know about me. I am like a huge nerd, uh, to the point where I have like a couple of different reading apps on my phone. And one of them, I can like track my reading sessions and like, track the pages that I read and write little notes and like keep all of that organized. And it's like one of my favorite apps to use because I'm like, oh, well, my reading rate is up from last week. And, I was able to spend this much time reading this week. And I just totally geek out on all that stuff. Yeah. And then of course, like anything French related, I'm all about it, French series. I recently had so there's a good amount of series that are available through different apps and online platforms. Right now I'm watching a Québécois series called C'est comme ça que je t'aime, I
Hmm.
think. I believe that's the title of it. But it's so good. Like there are so many wonderful shows and different movies to watch. So much of it is available pretty easily online now or through different apps. So yeah, that's how I spend my time most of the time. Either that or if it's been a bad week, just binging Gilmore Girls.
Excellent. And I do know that you are a big fan of French speaking Canada. Uh,
Yes.
which city do you which city is your favorite in Canada?
Well, it's hard to say because they're all, obviously so different. Like I love visiting Quebec City,
Mhm.
because it's really fun and historic and it feels a lot like being in Europe, but being, in North America. It's so much easier traveling there than it is, and more cost effective a lot of the time than getting airfare over to Europe. So I love it for that. But, you know, um, after spending more time up at Middlebury and spending time with just other people that I know, there are so many different regions up there to explore, so many different cities. Montreal is obviously super cool, great place to visit. There I couldn't nail it down to one. That's impossible for me. You've given me an impossible question here.
I'm so sorry, but I know that you also enjoy going to France,
Yeah.
uh, and I believe that you had some kind of an epiphany. Is this correct? When you were still a student and you were in France.
So this was my very first trip to France.
Hmm.
And I just finished my junior year in high school. And this was probably part of the reason why I decided last minute to switch my college applications from nursing to French is because I went over to France for the very first time and just being completely immersed in the language and culture. I was in my glory. I loved it. I was taking pictures of everything. I think I had 800 pictures from that trip, and the trip was like 10 days. I literally was like, oh my gosh, there's French sheep. We've got to get pictures of these French sheep. It was just completely ridiculous 17-year-old stuff, going abroad for the first time. But yeah, it was sort of at that on that trip that I was like, I need to do something more with this in my life. And here we are. So,
And here you are, exactly. And probably planning on your next trip, whether it is in Canada or in France.
yep, yep, working on a couple different things going on.
All right. Well, Kate, thank you so much for being here today. We're really excited to have you here, and we hope to see you soon, either here or on campus. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today.